We go. And hey, Dave Melinda here, Positive Polarity Podcast. Hope things are going awesome for you. I found a new one again, like I try to do. I scour the earth to find new things. And this week I found a mental conditioning coach. And I'm like, what in the world is that? So I'm honored to be hanging out with Scott Ferguson. How are you today, my friend?
I'm excellent, man. I'm a lifestyle optimization artist. Are
Oh
you
my
talking about
gosh.
that
See,
off
now
the
there's
air?
new ones here. That's since the
It's a fancy
lifestyle.
word.
Say that again. What was that?
A lifestyle optimization artist. And I have people when I speak on stage, they introduce me as that, and it kind of gets the audience giggling because she follows up with, it's just a fancy word for life coach, because it's
I
got
was
not
stuck on
really.
artist, man. I'm thinking, are you a good drawer or is that just
That would be no. I struggle with stick figures, and
Yep,
my mom said I should have been a doctor with my handwriting. So,
there you go. Awesome.
absolutely.
Cool. Well, you are also a podcast host for Time to Shine Today.
Yes, sir.
So honored to be hanging out. I was on that episode. I
Yeah.
believe it was 324. So you're like
Yeah.
360 episodes in.
Yeah,
That's
about that deep right now. Yeah, it's I'm just blessed to be able to align with people like yourself. You drop in like knowledge nuggets about
sure.
small course corrections and empathy and vulnerability. I remember a lot from our conversation. Helped me
Yeah.
level up my coaching.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I like to start with the question. And so the question really for the week is, do you know what you want, but you really don't know how to get there?
Mhm.
And I think that's one of the questions that was really awkward for me because, I'm assuming that a lot of people know what they want, but they don't know how to get there. So
Mhm.
when somebody starts off, with you on this journey, Scott, if they know what they want, but they don't know how to get there, how do you kind of start with them? Where do you guys tend to start?
That's a great question. And first of all, David, I'm super blessed to be here at the Positive Polarity Podcast, man. I've
Thank
been
you.
stoked, really stoked. But I'm a big believer that you kind of nailed it with the question that, everybody knows what they want. They just don't know how to talk themselves into it. Right. So with that being said, anybody that's what either referred to me or I love just organic conversations. I don't go in to try to coach people. But a lot of times I'm so freaking curious because that's my superpower that
Sure.
it turns into kind of an impromptu one. And I've just been blessed with, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants of coaches. Myself, I have 5 coaches now. So I've always heavily believed in coaching. But going back to, everybody kind of knows what they want. They know that there's something better. But every challenge that somebody has, it resides in them, but so does the solution. I'm not a consultant, so I'm blessed to coach Major League Baseball players. I'm blessed to coach, actors that's been on the cover of People magazine 12 times. They forgot more about baseball or their profession than I'll ever know. So I'm not a consultant. I'm just a coach that can bring them to a neutral stance, and then we can work from there.
So I wrote down challenge versus solution. So I feel like when as an entrepreneur, if we're faced with a challenge,
Mhm.
we have a choice right there of either wallowing in that challenge or trying to find that solution.
Right.
So do you tend to see people stuck in that spot a lot where they can't look past the solution? I mean, look past the challenge
Oh, yeah.
for a solution and they're just kind of stuck there?
Well, absolutely. And what's crazy is it turns not just mental, it turns into like a physiological stuck where they're just like, getting out of bed, no purpose, no why. And I'm a big believer, if the why is found out,
Yeah,
the how's easy, bro.
sure.
Right. So I find that a lot with people that they just don't see it because I'm big believer also that people have a foot in the future, a foot in the past, and they piss all over the present. Right. So they're looking back and being stuck in that story. And then they see this huge future in front of you and they have no idea how to get there. So again, my coaching really goes back to neutrality, keeping them neutral. If you and I are sitting in a car, that rearview mirror is super small for a reason, right? Because
Right.
that just sees you. It's a great place to visit. It's kind of like your past, metaphorically. It's a great place to visit, learn from, but don't live there, man. And the
Yeah.
windshield that we're sitting in that car is scary. It's big. We don't know where we're going. I just want to like sit there with you, be neutral,
Sure.
put the seatbelt on, hit the ignition, and I'm just kind of part of their GPS system. They know where they want to go. I'm just going to help them get there, bro.
Wow. I feel like people, Scott, tend to, in that analogy, they're either looking back or they're looking forward. What do you think? I mean, how do you help people to enjoy the moment that they're in right now? Because if I'm always looking back or always looking forward, I feel like there's like a lack of contentment in that right there. So
word, man.
how do you help them with that?
They don't get that time back. And I subtly remind them that while they're sitting there wallowing in either one of those, the future or the past, that, you know, I have a really solid neutrality questions that I ask them. I don't consult. I don't tell them, because I don't want them coming back, you know, the next session and go, Fergie, you suck, because what you told me doesn't work. You know, they're going to come up with the solutions, and I'm just super curious. And in that moment, in that neutrality, we will unpack what needs to be unpacked for them to put that car in gear and move forward. So they're wallowing, and a lot of, I already said it, a lot of it comes to the physiological, man, because when you get worried, or the bank account gets low, or the wife's going to leave you, or the husband's going to leave you, or whatnot, it's like nothing else matters except that. So I am also inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard, right? I'm going to unpack what is most critical in that moment to work towards their why and their purpose and moving forward.
So are they, I feel like the inch by inch, so these are really small course corrections rather than large fundamental changes. Would you say that that's an accurate statement?
100%. 100%. You know, your first conversation is going to be like vision. I'm not a believer in goals. I mean, I'm a believer in goals, but I just believe that people like yourself and myself and other people, that a goal might be to climb a mountain, but you and I are A-listers, and we're at the bottom of the next goal. Vision is, I can think laterally, and I can work with my clients to think laterally through their vision to help them get there. But we've got to unpack that first goal. That is, because everyone's like, oh, one session's done. Unfortunately, that'd be great. I want to be fired after 3 months of coaching them, right? I do. I want them to metaphorically spread their wings and get after it and just have a refresher here and there. Right. But, you know, but they have got to understand, and I had to understand this too, because I wanted it all. It's just inch by inch, it's a cinch. It's just one thing at a time. But we're going to dig into that major challenge, if you will, and then get that unpacked and work forward through that.
Do you feel like they know what that major challenge is, or would you consider that a blind spot for a lot of people?
100%, dude. They know 100%, but they're like I was in the past, super afraid to acknowledge it, you know, until people would ask me the questions that unveiled it. And I'm a big believer, like yourself as a coach, and I think we talked about it on our episode, is asking those powerful questions and really listening with our neck, you know, not just with our ears, but with our eyes. We're really leaning into the client and helping them unpack, but they do it on their own. You know, it's kind of like my mom used to kind of, you know, say, this is what you need to take, but you're going to pack it. I'm going to watch you pack your suitcase, you know, make sure that it all fits right. So our job, again, is that GPS, that directions. You're going to do it, but we're going to help you along.
Wow. Well, and so I think about golf swings, and I think about the difference between Tiger Woods and his swing and Charles Barkley and his swing. You know, I mean, Charles has that huge glitch. I don't know if he does anymore, but boy, you've never seen that. Go YouTube Charles Barkley's golf swing. That's like
that funniest commercial is when he was in that commercial with Tiger, and he was just shanking it everywhere. And remember, Tiger had that club that had a tiger on the top that would talk, the golf club cover. He'd be like, clean up on aisle 5. It was like such a bad shot.
Oh my gosh. But I mean, but if you think about that because I get people ask that, and I'm sure you do too, Scott, where it's like, what, I don't need a coach, or what good do you know, I know where I'm going, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I'm not here to say you need a coach or you don't need a coach.
Absolutely.
But the best golfer in the world, in my opinion, you know, has a swing coach. He's got, you know, a mental coach. He's got a health coach. I mean, he's got half a dozen coaches around him. You know, that's the difference between a guy making a great living at his craft and somebody like Charles Barkley that could never make a penny at at golf. So do you tend to see people with those big glitches in their swings, or is it, like we talked about, is it a lot more course correction than the small type?
Right.
Or
Once I start unpacking with them, we find that glitch.
yeah,
I used to be really arrogant and think that I knew what their glitch was before I started digging into it. I've
yeah,
learned as I went along, and I would
yeah,
reflect back to how coaches coached me, right? And they would dig, and they knew the glitch because they would show me their damn notes, Dave, about what they
yeah,
thought, and
sure,
then I got to it and they pulled it out of me. So a great coach is going to ask those questions that are going to find that hitch, that glitch in their swing, but do it from a point of empathy, a point of vision, a point of permission. It's crazy, I another downfall of mine in the past, and even to this day, I forget that I need permission to unpack some stuff with them, right? So a
sure,
good coach is going to
yeah,
ask them permission, and and I don't ask. I never use how does that make you feel. I'm always like, what do you think about that, or how does that resonate? So they don't feel like they're in therapy.
right,
But
yeah.
yeah, definitely glitches out there, and it's just fun for me, man. I'm so passionate. I'm just so damn curious.
Well, I think it's funny. I asked the question of how deep do you want to go?
Ooh,
Because,
love that.
it's a question of, I just had a discussion with somebody this morning and they were saying one thing but they wanted their team to do another thing. And I said, well, this is the spot where coaching comes in because it's like, all right, on one hand, you're doing something that you don't want them to do. You're giving them approval to do this, and I was
Yeah.
nervous about saying that because I'm like, wow, how deep do you want to go? So I try to really ask that question because if somebody, there are certain people that you can jump in and life's an open book, and then there's others that,
Oh yeah.
I there's definitely limits and walls that they put up. So
Sure.
I love that you say the same thing as, where do you want me to go and what do you want me to do with this? So that's awesome.
No, you said it, man. That's something I'm just going to pick up. It's the stuff I just picked up. How deep do you want to go? That's going to be a question now. I'm going to
Cool.
start working with clients. So thank you.
Absolutely,
Appreciate
for
that, man.
sure. Well, and I think about going back. So you were in the Navy. So thank you again
Okay.
so much for your service.
Appreciate
And
that.
you know, when did you know in your life that you wanted to be in this space of mental conditioning or leveling up and talking
Yeah.
about wealth and health and personal development? How did that come about for you?
I appreciate you asking. I'm going to do a 30,000 square foot view because I've actually been interviewed on talk shows with people that you would know about my past. I was born in 72 in the Philippines. I was mixed breed. Father's American GI. Mom was Filipino. He knocked her up. He bails to Vietnam, right? This is 1972. I'm just turned 51.
Sure.
And so she is going to give birth, but at the time they were taking mixed breed male bastards away from the mom at birth because I'm 6'1", I'm 260, I'm pretty well put together. If you had tens of thousands of bastard males running around at that time, they were afraid. An average Filipino man is about 5'4", 5'5". Look,
Sure.
they thought we'd physically take over. That was their mentality at the time. They were taking those babies, shipping them to Spain because Spain
Okay.
controls the Philippine Islands. Well, luckily I had an Air Force couple there that wanted to adopt me or to adopt a child because they already had two. They
Yep.
started, my mom gave birth. They literally gave them to the Donalds, who was the family that was going to adopt me. They come to America. He finished his time in the Air Force, came to America, and her father dies. Who was going to be my mom, my adoptive mom. Father dies. She goes schizophrenic. And they say, we can't raise this kid. Where you have two of our own. Their family, I was dark skinned. At this time, this is 1970s. Like they were your color, right?
Yeah.
And this is really frowned upon. And they're like family. Their extended family didn't accept me, so they dropped me in an orphanage, right? Kind of had that little life. Then I got adopted by my parents, who I call my mother and father today.
Okay.
But they were both alcoholics, so I was shipped from house to house and raised by 7, 8 different people and parents. So basically, I excelled at sports. It's pretty good. There's offers for me to go play certain sports at colleges, but they didn't like my 1.8 grade point average, right? So I was like, well, my dad, at the time, he's like, man, I love you, dude, but you can't live here without paying rent. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go in the military. So I did.
Sure.
Best thing I ever did. Made connections, made family. Of course, the Facebook phenomenon in 06, 07 got us all kind of reconnected, the guys that I did serve with. And that was my family. Get out of the military 7 years later, start personal training, real estate, and bouncing at the bar. And eventually just turned into real estate. And as a real estate agent, you are a marriage counselor. It's their biggest investment, man. You're a marriage counselor, you're a psychologist, you're talking them off the cliff all the time. So it just organically turned into coaching. I was coaching people every day. Yeah. And there was a coach that I was selling a house to 11 years ago. And 2012, yeah, whatever that is. 9 years ago, I was selling the house to him. And he says, you should coach. Yeah. And, he actually coached me. There's some other stuff where I went broke during the 08, 09. I was printing a ton of money, treating people like absolute dog crap, because this thing I was better. But that's in a 30,000-foot view, how it just really moved into my life of dealing with abandonment, leaning on people, listening to false narratives from people, and then having the right people show up in my life. And that's how coaching really came about.
Wow. And now you can't imagine doing anything else, eh?
Absolutely not, man. I wake up fired up. I mean, 51, I compete high-level jiu-jitsu. I'm rolling on the mats 5 days a week. I hurt, but there's that purpose is there, man. And I know that there's somebody out there that needs me, and is allowing me to remind them, of removing the stuff that gets in the way. That's all coaching is, really just removing the stuff that gets in the way and reminding them what they wanted in the first place. Right. So that stokes me up every day.
Wow. Well, and that's what's so weird is we tend to work with these blind spots. I mean, they don't know what they don't know. And I'm just curious if you get resistance a lot from people like, I don't have that problem, or that's somebody else. Today we're famous for shifting blame and not taking it on ourselves. So I'm just curious if somebody's listening and they're right now blaming somebody else, from what you just said, Scott, it would have been really easy for you to blame, oh my gosh, family, the system. I mean, you could have blamed anything and tried to walk away scot-free. No pun intended. You just took on that responsibility, and I really appreciate that. And I really enjoyed that in our last time on your show, because you were just open and said, what, this is me. Right. I'm in charge here of this. So if somebody listening right now that's struggling to, they have a tendency to blame others, how do you kind of work with that thought process?
I have a gratitude sandwich that I send over to people before I really start coaching with them, which, they're going to tell me, their objectives for their days, their concerns, who they want to send good vibes to, and then 14 things they're grateful for. And as a gratitude sandwich, you have like your vision, your objective, and then you have your 14 things you're grateful, and it squeezes out the concerns, right? So I start there so I can kind of get a basis of where they're at, where their concerns. What's funny is the concerns are so much bigger when I first start coaching with them than the gratitude. So we really start there. Secondly, so I can get a basis of them. There's no judgment. It just allows me to really, quote unquote, screen them. And then, I really work into responsibility with somebody in that situation. I work into responsibility and I dig deep to find out what responsibility means to them. And a lot of times they can't answer it because they're in a victim mindset, right? Yeah. And then I just kind of throw out the joke, hey man, responsibility is nothing more than what's rooted in the word. It's the ability to respond, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to work to respond to their situations by unpacking that big why, that big purpose, and then without reacting to the stuff. Right. Yeah. And then get them out of that victimhood. But I start really easy because I can get fired up, and I'm not. It's funny when you started that question, you're like, so it's something I was going to joke around and say, oh, I'm the best coach ever. I never run into that issue. Dude, I run into it all the time. What's blessed is I have a stable of coaches like yourself. Yeah. If I'm not the right horse for the course, I can refer them. Sure. And I did an awesome podcast interview with them. And I'm able to send that to the client to listen to, hey man, this person might work better for you. I have no problem, right? Stepping back, sure, at all.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And I think you mentioned the word victim, you know, and it's real easy to have that mentality. And I always ask the question, like, are you a victim or are you a victor? I mean, are you getting, is this thing getting, are you getting under it or over it, so to speak? And so you had talked about this a little bit. I want to kind of unpack this again about the importance of surrounding yourself with people that you trust, that, you know, they want to level you up, so to speak, rather than tear you down. So are you looking at somebody's immediate circle when you're coaching them and trying to give them some tips on how to work through that as well?
Oh, absolutely, man. You know, there's a cliche out there, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? You know, so when you're there, a lot of people are like, I want balance in my life. I want balance in my life, you know, around these people. And I'm like, dude, balance sucks. Balance is zero. We want harmony, right? That's what we want. And, you know, you have 8 pillars of life with God or spiritual, personal growth, family, community, work, money, liberty, environment, health, and recreation. So each one of those, I liken it to a jazz band, right? I'm into jazz a little bit, but not a lot. But I liken it to a jazz band where, like, your spirituality might be the drums, the community might be the guitar, the horns are your family. And if any one of those is out of tune, you don't have to be Beethoven or Louis Armstrong or John Bonham or any of those people, you know, to play them, right? But if any of them are out of tune, right, then it's going to sound bad. It's going to sound off key. So I really work with them to find the harmony, you know, and I call it the kind of harmonic hustle, right? We're going to find that harmony in each one of those pillars or those instruments to help them, you know, move forward and attack life from a place of power and not the victim. They will, working with me, they are going to be responsible. It's going to click with them and say, dude, I can do that. Or, and again, I'm not consulting. They're coming up with it on themselves, which empowers them. And they take, here we go with some Tony Robbins, some massive action. You know what I'm saying? They just do.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's funny because when I stop to look at who I'm hanging out with, you know, I have to see, is it people that I'm trying to, you know, elevate up, or they're trying to push me down? You know, that's really a challenge for me. I don't know
if you, man.
I don't know if you have that challenge as well.
Oh yeah. I love everybody, you know, in my own way. But I also have had to remove some people, you know, from my life. I'll never tell a client that's what they need to do, but they'll come up with their own, with my questions. I pride myself on powerful questions. You know, so yeah, it's super important on who we have around us to help us play those instruments in the different pillars. You know, it's critical, you know, because, you know, Galileo said it like best. It's like, you can't teach a man anything. You can only help him discover it within himself. And that's what I freaking live by, man. If I can help them discover, hey, the people that you're around, through questions, asking them instead of telling them, their whole vibe just, you know, rises, it levels up.
Well, and that's a hard thing to get out of. That's a comfort zone where it's hard to get out of, to go find new friends.
Huge.
Right. Or go find new business partners, new networking partners, whatever the words are in your world. Because it's easy to just kind of skate back and fall into that. But you know, when people are always negative, or, you know, they're not in the growth mode, they're not in the growth mentality, they're at, you know, status quo is fine, or even if I skip back a little bit. So I mean, I think it's really important to surround yourself with those people, like you said. So
huge.
And I gotta believe it's hard to share that message or deliver that message, because people are like, whoa, what are you talking about? How do you know? And usually people are in the negative. If they're negative, if they're stuck, they're usually hanging out with stuck people as well. So you know,
I kind of use something that my coach, Marianne, first coach ever, had me paint that picture of a day, the perfect day, knowing that nothing can be perfect. But if we strive for perfection, Lombardi, your head coach there at Green Bay, we can't reach perfection, but if we strive for it, we'll hit greatness, right? And she had me paint my perfect day, and then she unpacked the people that are in that day. What are you driving in that day? Where are you living in that day? And really started to help me see and she immersed me into it through the questions she asked me. So just seeing the immersion from clients on their faces, whether I'm doing it via Zoom, in person, I have clients here in Palm Beach. I coach on the ocean, which it's beautiful, and just seeing that immersion take place and seeing their day unfold in the way that they're like, damn, I can have this.
Sure.
Man, it's awesome.
Do you feel like a lot of people don't feel they're worthy of what they're going to unpack that in that day?
Absolutely. And that's why I have them start with the gratitude sandwich and show me the concerns, because I can see if there's a lot of past issues in there, Dave, I pass. Like, I don't pass. Our motto at Time to Shine today is you don't want to have anyone to feel like they have no one, right? So I will pass and say, man, there's a lot of therapy in past that needs to be unpacked here. Sure. So I see that. And I'm just, if I'm not the right horse for the course, I build my life and I live it in relationships by trust and honesty, man. If I'm trying to talk to you like a therapist or a counselor, dude, I'm lying.
Yeah.
I don't do that, bro.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and that's the funny thing is it's that perfect day mentality. That sounds really like an awesome exercise.
Yeah.
To just, be as specific as you can about a perfect day.
Yeah.
But then I'm guessing, like I said, soon into it, it's like, well, you don't deserve to be living on the ocean, or you don't deserve fill in the blank, whatever it is, right? Yes. So that's got to be a fight right there. That's got to be a fight right there, I would guess.
Yeah. And the imposter syndrome can be overcame by, again, what you brought up, a brilliant question, is your tribe, the people that you're around. Yeah. And the people that you're around are going to lift you up and say you do deserve this, because I went through it. I left out my dad. I told him my dad was an alcoholic, but he was worked on the line at General Motors, and gambled his money away all the time. I always lived with lack. So I thought lack was normal until I found something ingrained in me to reach out to people that just, I was curious all my life. I guess when you are abandoned, you become very curious. And I got curious and I would ask people and be like, dude, you can have this too. Because I was very materialistic, when I had my Aston Martin and thinking I'm James Bond and shit, and it's like, dude, I had what a lot of people have. And then once I became a little bit more of a minimalist, I'm not saying people get rid of your stuff, but I really broke it down, man. And things just started, the people started showing up in my life, and just I'm so blessed by it, to have a network, including people like yourself, Dave. You know what I'm saying? So have that.
Well, that's awesome. And I think I never heard of a gratitude sandwich. So, my focus every day for myself is at least 3 things I'm thankful for each day, and they're different each day. And sometimes it's as simple as, a hot shower that's with clean water. I mean, it can start from there and it can, complex its way out. But how many things in your gratitude sandwich are there that you have to be thankful for? Did you say 13 or 16?
No, I just, for myself, and I push my clients. If they give me 3 things they're grateful for within our first session, I'm 100% good with that. Okay. But it just, my vision for the day, if I want to set the tone, my concerns for the day, my big wins from yesterday, right? And who I want to send good vibes to, and then 14 things I'm really grateful for. And they're super one-liners. My number one is always, I'm a Christian man, so God and spirituality, dude. He showers me with abundance, prosperity, whatnot, a great woman, and the second thing is always Susan, right? She's my rock. Sure. Third thing is my rescue pit Stitch, right? And the fourth thing is my 2 rescue black kitties, Delilah and Diana. And the rest of it is just stuff that happened, yesterday. Like, you'll be in my gratitude journal tomorrow, right? And about this podcast, you were in it before the day after I interviewed you. Sure. So you cannot feel bad at the same time as gratitude. You can try it, but try writing 14 things you're grateful for and just really thinking about being grateful. Not the sun, food. No, I'm talking about things that people have did for you, man. I was at Costco yesterday and a woman smiled at me and complimented my biceps. I know it's vain, but she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're built." I'm like, "Thank you very much." It's just stupid stuff like that I'll throw on my phone immediately after it happens. And I encourage my clients to do that too. Like, just here's Google Keep. just put stuff in here, just line it up, and you're going to realize the good stuff that you're out there visualizing.
Yeah. Wow. That's so cool. And I think it's, like we said before, the big course corrections here, we're looking for these big, massive things we're thankful for, but yet why do they have to be so massive? Why can't they just be these little chunks along the day to help you through the day? So
exactly, man.
Yeah, so I would love to have anybody say that I have massive biceps. So, if you don't
No,
so
it was a funny thing that I just remembered,
Absolutely.
So,
and again, the thing is that I think that the reciprocation of that is hopefully we're out noticing other people, not necessarily physical attributes. It can be, but it doesn't sure have to be.
right.
I think it's great. I try to make somebody else's day by giving them a compliment or saying, "Hey, great job on this," right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's free. And we have enough negativity in this world right now that it would be nice to have somebody actually be thinking about you in that way. So
it's funny you say that, because I make 2 New Year's resolutions every year. 1, make someone smile every single day. And 2, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you, or owe you, I give 0 what's what you think about me.
Yeah.
Once I could really lean into that, right? I just don't care. I mean, if I hurt you, I'll be the first to apologize. It might take me a minute to just trust me. Susan will tell you. If I hurt you, Susan's my lady. If I hurt you, it might take me a minute, but I will apologize. But other than that, man, like people just worry so much about status. And this is my opinion.
Sure.
I'm not trying to push on anybody, but they worry about the status and being liked and that dopamine release so much that they forget to be grateful for those little things that we write down. My cat woke up. I woke up, my cat's massaging my dog, like just walking on him. I have a pit bull, and I have a little black cat. She's just massaging him. But I'm grateful for that, dude. I'm just like, that's cool. It's just stupid stuff. I'm looking at a Valentine's balloon that Susan got me. I'm grateful just for that, man. Absolutely. So it's just the little things, bro.
Yeah. Well, and a great verse is, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and forfeits his own soul?
Right.
And I love that, what does it matter, all this stuff, if you don't have whatever that means, a great relationship with a family member, with your creator, whatever. If you don't have deeper connections, all the stuff that we end up with really doesn't matter. So how do you balance that? I'm curious, as we start to land the plane today, when you're talking about wealth and health and personal development, there's a bunch of gain that's there, and it's not right or wrong. But how do you balance that with being content with what you have, or like you were talking about, the minimalistic approach? Help somebody listening right now that's struggling with trying to understand that balance.
Go volunteer.
Okay.
That's all I say. Go to a children's hospital, bro, and see a baby that can fit in your palm of your hand that's having heart surgery.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Go to a rescue shelter and just volunteer for a day. Go to find a veterans, because I'm big on veterans.
Sure.
I mean, I could say, oh, why don't you go to Somalia like I was before, and then tell me how bad your life is. But when you can sit there and make an analogy or kind of like a comparison, for lack of a better term, and say, okay, these people are making it. There is a way. So when people get stuck in that, I do require them to volunteer for something.
Okay.
And they have to show me proof, pictures. So my clients, once they're bought into our way, and just go volunteer, man. Go see what is out there. Not say, oh, it could be worse. It's just like, no, man, this world needs you. Yeah. This world wants you to succeed. I'm a big believer that my creator is only going to give me up to my expectations. And if you're living in a victimhood, you're not expecting much.
Right.
If we can get them to expect a ton, whether it's God or the universe or whatever, they're going to provide for you. It's just impossible for them not to, because your expectations are so huge.
Wow. Which then puts it all back on us, right? I mean, that's the funny thing, is the onus is on us. It's so much easier to raise my hands and say, that's how I was raised, or
100%.
Whatever. Like, which again, you were of all people, you definitely would have that card that you could play, and people would totally
understand. I haven't. I played it before.
Yeah.
you know, but I've just luckily had really good people that I surrounded myself with, because I was always in the fitness world, martial arts world, stuff like that. They're like, dude, and they treat it a little bit different, like quit being a P word. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, quit
Yeah.
doing that, dude. You're better than that. You know,
Yeah.
we're here. Don't be an idiot. You know, as a coach, we can't see that. You know what I'm saying? But we can help them understand the blessings that they have. Absolutely.
And we usually need somebody from the outside to help us
Mm.
with it. Again, back to Charles
Thank
Barkley
you
golf
for
swing, right?
saying that. That's huge, because it comes down to trust and respect,
Yeah.
right? If you and I are buddies, which we are, but if you were to come to Florida with your significant other, knock on my door, I'd hop up, be like, "Hey, Dave, hey, nice to meet you." And you'd be like, "Hey, this is my significant." I'm like, "Hey, what's up? You guys want a beer? You guys want anything? Something to
Yeah.
drink? Sit down. We'll go look at the waves hitting the shore, whatever." Dude, if you were just to come here, we knock, we like, "It's open. Come in. Hey, Ferg, got a beer?" You know where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
I trust you enough to go get a beer out of my refrigerator, to
Right.
walk in without me getting up, but I don't
Yep.
respect you enough
Right.
to do it. But if you're with somebody, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So it comes down to the trust and respect, man. So for you bringing that up, man, that hits home, because I do coach that, you know, quite a bit. It's like, I don't understand why this person does this. It's
Right.
because they trust you, but they just don't respect you, because, you know, think about your first dates with your wife and stuff like that, man. It's like you're opening the door, playing the music she wants, whatever, right? And
Don't tell her. Don't say that, because now she's gonna expect that again, dude. Why do you got to do that?
yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But that's
Thanks,
one thing,
Scott.
man. I'm good with the doors. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
one thing, man. It's like I do that. I try to treat Susan, you know, like she deserves to be treated. I'm not always on point with it, but yeah.
Do you open the door like when you're in the car? Does she wait for you to open her car door for you?
She never waits. She never expects it, but I do it. Like, I get out, I'll open the door for her.
Nice.
It's just something that, you know, it was never ingrained in me. I just saw it in a movie one time. Like, it was like The Bronx Tale. You know, you ever see that with Robert De Niro? And he's like, "Make sure you open the door for her.
Oh,
She's
wow.
got to lean over and unlock your door for you when you get in," because this is back in the 60s
Yeah,
and stuff.
back
They
in the
didn't,
day, yeah, exactly.
you know. So, you know, a woman's good like that, and Susan was
Yeah.
that person, man. It is that person. So,
That's super
yeah,
cool. Wow.
this is fun.
Yeah, no, and we could sit all day and chat
All
about
day,
this.
yeah.
This is so cool. I mean, for somebody listening today, I just want to encourage you guys, and gals, rather than jump into your next podcast, or rather than jump into your next activity, you know, take a minute to think about what Scott's saying. And, you know, there's something here for you. You listened today for a reason. There's something here for you. You know, whatever that was, challenge versus solution, how deep do you want to go? You know, talk about enjoying your future now, whatever it is, you know, really kind of sit with it, and hopefully it changes your ways, and you can use it to build upon. If you're struggling and you want to you know, reach out to Scott, what's the best way for people to do that, Scott, to get in contact with you?
Thank you for asking. We have an open line at 561-440-3830. And Tiffany is actually designing a page. It's called HOP. It's called Hour of Power. I offer a free hour of power to anybody that wants an impactful, powerful, transformational conversation. No selling, no upselling, nothing. Just a 1 hour conversation with me. And it's open to anybody and everybody. I mean, there's obviously scheduling that has to go into it. Yep. But I'm open to doing that. Again, no selling, no nothing. I just want to be curious. And if there's something we need to unpack, let's do it. And it's 100% complimentary.
And what was the number again, Scott?
Area code 561-440-3830. And that comes to our whole team with text. Awesome. But I will be the one to respond.
Sure.
If you come through Dave Melendez podcast, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, man. This is awesome. I just love finding people that are like-minded, and I'm stuck on this beer on the ocean. So, you know, I'm like, man, well, next time I'm in Florida, I'm looking you up, my friend.
No, you have to. And, you know, I'm so blessed. You know, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt, dude. You're seriously out there planting trees you're never going to sit in the shade of, man. You know what I'm saying? And those are the kind of people, my tribe, man. that I want to sit around. I want to be that micro influencer that has that evergreen effect, man, that carries on, and then I'm so blessed to be connected with you, brother.
Awesome. Artist Scott Ferguson.
Lifestyle optimization artist.
Oh, come on. Now, why do you got to mess with it? I like the artist Scott Ferguson. That sounds
I love
fantastic.
it. So. The artist formerly known as Scott Ferguson.
There you go. That's even better. Oh my gosh. Now we got her. You're going to have your own store at the airport and everything. So this is cool. Well, thanks again for hanging out, and can't wait to keep learning from you.
All right, man. I love your guts, brother. Thanks so much, Dave.